Sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
As
Very
I've
good
seen,
morning, sir.
okay, so we will now start
Good morning,
गुड
sir.
our
मॉर्निंग
session.
में फीलिंग नहीं आ रही है.
Yes, sir.
Hello, yes,
Good morning, sir.
pardon.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, uh, am I audible
Morning,
to
Yes, sir.
sir.
everybody?
Yes, sir. Audible,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, fine. So, welcome to this session on academic performance indicator and performance-based appraisal system. I am Omar Farooq from the Department of Electronics Engineering, and I would be steering this session through and hope that we will be able to understand a bit more detail about how can we apply for the promotion to next level using those performance indicators, and how do we fill up the form that has been provided by the UGC, and how the points can be calculated. We'll go through all those things in this particular session. Now, before diving into the details about those forms and formats, I would first of all like to touch upon uh, the performance appraisal system itself, the different types of indicators that we can have, and different API categories. Then we will go into the calculation of different points in those tables. How do we evaluate those points? And then assessment system, how whether there is a screening committee or a selection committee, how the promotion takes place, and what are the minimum requirements for the promotion to the next higher level. We'll talk about all those things. And if the time permits, and if you all desire, we will be talking about the shortlisting criteria as well for the interviews. What is the shortlisting criteria which has been proposed by UGC? So coming to the appraisal system, this is relatively a new concept when we talk about the educational institutions, because in educational institutions, we didn't have any sort of formal appraisal system which was actually linked to the promotion. However, this was existing in all those private industries where appraisal, annual appraisal or quarterly appraisal was carried out. Why it is important? Because we actually want, or the employer actually wants to evaluate the employee's performance in terms of the job requirement. The specific job that is there for a university level teacher, what is the requirement? For a college level teacher, what is the requirement? What is desirable from a newly recruited assistant professor? What is desirable from a professor? So all those sort of things should be actually incorporated to assess the performance, and that should be linked to the promotion. That is the basic idea. Of course, another important outcome of this is that we can actually, through these performance review or appraisal system, we can know where we actually lack. What are the limitations? What are the shortcomings where we can gives an opportunity for an individual teacher as well as for the entire system to improve upon and focus to the area where the improvement is required, because it is a sort of information collection on the yearly basis. Then we can actually focus the department or the institution based upon the overall performance that we get annually, and how can we improve upon, what are our positives and negatives. Of course, the requirement of this assessment method, it should be fair and equitable. That is a very important objective of this appraisal system, that it should be fair and it should not have any bias towards the region. For example, a university teacher who is teaching in a university which is centrally placed, and a university which is remotely placed. So we should try to have fairness as far as possible. It cannot be a perfect system. There is always a need for improvement, and we can always improve upon that. But we should try to be as fair as possible. Again, an important thing that we should note over here is that it is to improve the overall teaching and learning process in the educational institutions. It is not that we are rating teachers based upon these API scores. It is not at all like that. Sometimes it may happen, and sometimes we may have fair or unfair competition among the teachers to score high points in those API, but that is not the primary objective. The primary objective is improvement in teaching as well as learning. Positive points when we talk about these performance appraisal system is that based upon this, I can identify my strength and weaknesses. I can talk about my personal developments. And if I am getting good feedback and good score at the end of the year, I will be having a satisfaction in my mind that I have performed the task that was assigned to me satisfactorily, and that is what is reflected in those scores. Sometimes it may be helpful in the salary or promotion as well. Some sort of increments may be given, like some universities, they do say that if you publish papers in such and such sort of journal, Q1 journal or Q2 journal, then you may be getting some monetary incentive. So those are contributing towards the API as well as plus some benefit. The negative point regarding this is sometimes it may be a very lengthy process, time consuming, and you may require a lot of collection of documents. So this was a bit tiring process when initially it was introduced, where a lot of paper was required. Later on, the refinement came, and now it is relatively much easier as compared to the initial form that we had in the beginning. It may be subjected to bias and errors. There will always be some sort of bias and errors which we cannot avoid. As I gave you the example that a university which is centrally located in a metro city, the facilities over there may be much more. The accessibility to various libraries, literature may be much more as compared to a university which is remotely located. So if we are saying, talking about the publications and all those things, then the avenue for a person who is working in a remotely placed university is slightly lesser. But that is just based upon some sort of consideration. It may not be always the case. Timing of the assessment, how frequently we are doing the assessment. In our case, we do have annual performance appraisal system, so it is not very, very frequent, and it can be handled easily, but it can be stressful if the frequency increases. As I told you that popularity contest should not be there. That means a teacher is very popular, he is trying to have very good API score. So trying to improve upon the API score by the criteria. Excuse me. Sometimes in the case of appraisal system, we may have rating of the person by the peers, which is not in our case. The rating may be given by the head of the department, but not by the peers. So if the rating is given, then it becomes important that how good a person is who is rating, how aware he is about those facts based upon which they are rating, and therefore it is not desirable. Last part is sometimes it may be used as a negative point against any person by administration. So that these are the negative points which may be there. Now, if we talk about the academic performance indicators, what should be included in those tables for the assessment of a teacher? Now, if we talk about teachers, the very first thing that comes to our mind is teaching quality. How good a teacher is, how good he is able to communicate with the students, and whether the learning is taking place or not. So, assessment of the teacher's quality is very difficult in terms of any objective score. If you survey any class and there are 4 teachers, you will find some section of the students liking one, the other may be liking the other teacher. There will be always some students who will be liking one teacher or the other. In general, you may say that the best teacher will be one who is given the maximum vote or liking by the students, but then sometimes it becomes very, very subjective and may be actually governed by other parameters. Therefore, you will find that the quality of teaching is not a parameter in any one of those points that we are actually going to see in the subsequent slides in the API scoring. Reason being that I may be biased and it is totally a subjective matter and you cannot actually authenticate that. So it has not been included in the evaluation. Then the second thing is the research. The research may have a direct indication that a person who is doing a research should have certain outcome. Outcome in terms of the research papers that he is publishing, or outcome in terms of the research project that he or she is currently having, or the consultancy that is being provided. So all these are actually objective measures in terms of numbers. We can actually get the information that whether a teacher is performing a research or not. And therefore, these things have been actually included in the API evaluation. Fellowship with the professional bodies, this is also an important thing. A person who is renowned in his field doing a lot of research work will be fellow or member of those professional societies. Now, another important thing that we can think of is when a teacher is teaching in a class, he may find that there are some students who are very good and some students who have not so much of a strong background in that particular subject. They may be coming from different board, different backgrounds, different places, and therefore it is possible that they may not be that much strong. Now, because of this choice-based credit system and the credit transfer, it is possible that you students in your stream who have not that much of sound background and in that specific subject. So if a teacher is very much concerned about the learning process and about the students in the class, then many a times he may arrange certain remedial classes for those weaker students who may have joined late, who may be coming from maybe different stream, or who may be sometimes the international students, they do come and they don't have that much of very strong background. For example, in English classes, they face a lot of problem. If people are coming from maybe African or Gulf countries, they may not have very strong background in English. So you arrange remedial classes. So that is a positive thing. If you are involved in co-curricular activities, along with the students, you are organizing these activities. This is actually contributing towards the development of the students, overall development of the students, which is important along with the learning that is taking place in the classroom. These things are also important, and if you are involved in these activities, this actually helps you to score points over there. Another important thing that is there now, it is not only restricted to universities but colleges also, is that how much up-to-date knowledge a teacher is having. You know that things are changing at a very fast rate, and the technological development is taking place, and everywhere there is now the intervention of computer and AI. We should be up to date with those sort of knowledge, the latest technology which is available, and therefore we need to be trained in those things. Not only in the specific research area in which we are working, but also in the technical area as well. So training becomes an important point, and this has been introduced at all levels in the appraisal system. Leadership, of course, mentoring, counseling, these are the additional role that a teacher actually plays within the institution, and to guide them, to supervise them in their research, to counsel them if they are facing some problem which is related to academics sometimes, or it may not be related to academics. If they are residing in hostel, they may be having some problem related to their accommodation, maybe because they have separated from their family. They may have some other issues, like nowadays you do have a lot of stress problems in the students, so counseling may be required. So if you are having those sort of sessions, or you are a counselor in your institution, then that again is a that you are making, and that is acknowledged in terms of the scores that you will be getting in the appraisal system. Now, the national education policy now, what it again emphasizes is the diffusion of knowledge, increase the public engagement. That means it's not that if a person is teaching in the classroom, he is only restricted within the boundaries of that institution. His public lectures, the knowledge that he has got, the information that he has about the social issues of that region, of the society in which he is living. So if he can organize these sort of public lectures, or cleanliness program, or health and safety awareness, all those sort of things, if it is done, then that is again acknowledged and it is there. In terms of research, nowadays a lot of research emphasis is on the applied research, which is based upon the outcome, which will be ultimately useful in the society. And therefore, the emphasis nowadays is on multidisciplinary research, a collaborative research in which number of departments or researchers are involved from different streams to come up with something which will be helpful for the society. These are the regulations. We will be just talking about 2018 regulations. Assessment need that we would like to have, why at all it is required. Of course, this is helpful in addressing our education system, how it is working. whether the students are able to learn what is being taught in the classroom, whether those teaching are effectively or the information is effectively transferred from the teacher to the taught or not. And if we analyze these API, then based upon these results, we can actually try to improve upon the. We can also have accountability fixed. For example, if a teacher is not engaging regular classes, many classes have been skipped, the allocated classes were 50 and he has only engaged only 30 classes, then these information will be available in black and white, and therefore this will actually help the administration to address those sort of issues. A person who is seriously taking all the classes, they may be rewarded accordingly. Also, this is helpful in various accreditation bodies. For example, if the medical in the medical colleges, the visit is there, or engineering colleges, the visit is being, or the inspection is being carried out, or management institute inspection is being carried out. So if these things are well in place, this is helpful in getting good score while the visit occurs. Sometimes a teacher actually uses some innovative methodology for teaching. Now, if that is only restricted and only a single teacher is using, then this may not be good. But once it is coming on paper, black and white, then people can actually sit down and discuss about that how it can be adopted in other subjects by other teachers also. For example, somebody is using a lot of IT stuff in their teaching process, a lot of interactive videos or demos are given, so that actually helps a student to learn things in a better fashion. So these things will help, it will penetrate through all the strata. Of course, if a teacher is good and he gets feedback that such and such university actually gives credit to the good teacher, then you will find that good teachers are attracted to those universities, or if a specific university is following good practices, then the retentivity is good. The retention of the teacher in that university will be much higher as compared to the other places. It actually helps to improve upon the reputation of the teachers, because ultimately, if you have got good teachers, then the students will be good, and then the reputation of the institution or the university becomes good. That was just a brief overview that I was talking about. Now I'll straight away come to the recruitment process and the details about the different evaluation forms that are there and how do we fill up. So as you already know that two options are there. One is the direct recruitment, other is the career advancement scheme. So the direct recruitment, we have got three possible slots: assistant professor, associate professor, and professor. Different levels. And this is the cadre structure, the mode of appointment that is there. So just a second. The first, assistant professor, this is the direct recruitment. Of course, there is no promotion because this is the first level, the entry level. Then the senior scale assistant professor, it is through promotion itself. there is no direct recruitment for this one. So all the red one highlighted over here in the red color is actually through direct recruitment. It is possible that it may be through promotion also. So except for the first one, all of them can be through promotion, and associate professor and professor can be through direct recruitment. Assistant professor level minimum is 55%, PG level or equivalent grade relaxation is 5% there. State level eligibility or national level eligibility test. Now this PhD requirement has been actually removed. You don't require a PhD, but if there is a PhD, then this will be helpful. But the minimum standard and procedure for the award of PhD degree must be followed. So that is important. And this minimum standard is actually constituting of over here 5 points, which is to be certified or given by the registrar or dean of academic affairs of that university, that a person who has done his PhD in that university, all these 5 points were there. That means the PhD is in the regular mode only. That is important. External evaluation to examiner. Open PhD viva was conducted. It's not that it is a closed door viva, but in general, students and teachers are invited for that viva posting. 2 research papers from his or PhD work, out of which 1 must be in a refereed journal. So 1 refereed journal paper must be there. Presented at least 2 papers based on his or her PhD work in a conference seminar sponsored by some agency, reputed agency. So if these conditions are fulfilled and the certificate is given by the registrar or dean of academic affairs, then the person will be considered as the PhD holder and the benefits for the PhD will be given. These are actually different. Okay. These are the different notifications that were sent actually by the University Grant Commission about the PhD. This was the latest one, 30th June, in which it was said that a PhD may not be the minimum requirement. The Gazette notification. These things will be available to you in the slides. I'll just skip these things. Of course, for the case of different faculties, we may have different requirements, slightly different requirement at the entry level. For example, in the case of engineering faculty, we may have something as degree relevance in a relevant area. Now, this may be a general thing, but relevance will be actually decided by the board of studies, because there may be MTech or MS in various streams within a specific branch, for example, computer engineering. So there may be many specialization in masters in computer engineering. So that specialization will be specified by the board of studies. Or for example, in management, I have just given one sample over here. So specifically, there may be slight variation, but masters is the requirement, 55% is the bottom line, except for some special cases. For the case of direct recruitment at the associate professor level, I am first considering the direct recruitment, and then I'll go to the career advancement scheme where all those API forms will be there. So PhD is the requirement. 55% of course is a must. 8 years of teaching or research in academic or research position equivalent to assistant professor. So it is possible that somebody can come from the industry also maybe somebody working in the industry in management area or somewhere, and he comes and joins a management department or an engineering department. So it is possible, but that experience is requirement, and minimum of 7 publications in the UGC listed journal. So UGC listed journal is the list of journals which is available on the UGC website, which you can actually download. We'll talk about the research score and all those things later on. At the professor level, PhD of course is a must, and 10 years of experience is required. Now, 10 years of teaching experience in a college or university as assistant professor, associate professor, professor, or equivalent research experience at national level institute. For example, there are CSIR labs, organization, DRDO, scientist, or Indian Space Research Organization. So they can also come to the universities or colleges, provided that they have got requisite publication, score, and the experience at that equivalent grade level. This is one requirement which is additional as compared to the previous, is the evidence of successfully guided a doctoral candidate. So some PhD is required. Or then if you are there, then outstanding professional with PhD in relevant or applied area. This is the other requirement that we can have in this place. For the case of CAS promotion, which is from the senior scale onwards, we will just talk up till the professor stage. What are the different requirements? Now these things are not there. Everything has been removed. So the new regulation that is there has got certain changes as compared to that previous original one, which was in 2010. Is that if a person who has appeared for the assessment and he was not successful, or he was not selected for the promotion to the next grade, then he or she will be reassessed only after 1 year. That is important. So reassessment will not be taking place before a year. It can be that it is occurring after 2 years or 3 years, but he will be eligible for the promotion just after 1 year of the first assessment. When a candidate succeeds in the eventual assessment, he shall be promoted, as I said, from 1 year from the date of rejection. So even if after 5 years the assessment process was taking place, but he will be placed when it was due just after 1 year. Also, the induction program of 1 month should be introduced by the university or college or institution to all the newly recruited assistant professor. This is the case so that a person who is coming new to this particular system of university or college or an institute, he is aware about the facilities, the procedures, and the protocol that is to be followed during that teaching process. He will be aware about what are the facilities available in the institution and how he can optimally use those facilities so that he can become in that institution. So this is to be carried out ideally when the teaching has not yet started, usually in the vacations. This should be as soon as the person is recruited, the university or the college should plan the recruitment before vacation, and during the vacation there should be this 1 month induction program. And if it is not done, then it must be done within 1 year of the recruitment for all the new faculty members. This is what the UGC says. But I know that there will be questions that many a times the institutions, they don't allow teachers to go for these sort of programs, or they don't organize these programs within a year. So what happens?
Sir, I have pursued this program after 1 year. Any problem?
Did you?
I have joined 5th July 2022. It is after 1
So
year.
did you apply for the induction program before in a year or not?
After 1 year. I have applied in August.
Okay.
August
So,
23.
It should be that ideally be within a year. But some changes happen in a year, and because of the ongoing session and all those sort of things. So in all this, they claim that they have applied, but they were didn't allow the session allow the teacher to go for that induction program. There is some leverage over there. Whether you apply, it depends on the institution what the is at. You ask.
सर वैलिड है नहीं, हमने आफ्टर 1 ईयर अप्लाई किया और अभी मैं कर रहा हूँ. इसके पहले मैं अप्लाई किया ही नहीं था, तो ये वैलिड है नहीं.
नहीं वैलिड है, वैलिड,
लेकिन रूल 1 ईयर के विदिन करना है ना. रूल 1 ईयर के विदिन करने का है.
विदिन करना चाहिए. यस, दैट इट इज बेटर शुड बी बिफोर द स्टार्ट ऑफ द टीचिंग.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आपको फर्स्ट जो असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर का जो फर्स्ट प्रमोशन होता है उसके लिए फैकल्टी इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम और इस आपको रिफ्रेशर और उसमें आपको बीच में मतलब कितना गैप होना चाहिए?
1 साल का.
Those sort of programs come to those points. Okay. Just after.
Sir,
some institutions say that we will allow only after your probation.
We can have we have got those things. This will be clarified. So if the okay question. So
sir, promotion सर प्रमोशन में प्राइवेट एक्सपीरियंस को नहीं जोड़ जाता है, आपके सारे नॉर्म्स रूल्स रेगुलेशंस वो ही रहते हैं सर.
Private experience teaching in the private institution.
Yes sir.
Is it on the same scale as recommended by UGC?
Yes sir, वो ऑफर्स रहती हैं, सारे स्केल बराबर रहते हैं सब.
हाँ, तो जो फिर जो जोड़ा जाता है it should be done.
सर एफएससी तभी मिलती है कॉलेज को जब वो सारे नॉर्म्स पूरे कर ले हैं.
So it should be done here that it is done. Somebody has got experience from some is context also. We are having experience of teaching, not specifically university in that study. But if you are talking about the promotion under CAS scheme, career advancement, then the scheme. Some universities they do have the rule that when you are going for a career advancement is related to and restricted to that only university. Then they talk about saying that okay, we will take the experience part. Universities they do have what I'm saying. Different rule. Have their own. You can always say that one a CAS post with post call open to, you cannot, it's not apply, for example, for a CS, I am applying post, it will be in AMU, I cannot apply in DU under CS.
Thank you, sir.
That is the rule. Okay. So coming back to the point, some new things and some point that I want to highlight in the notification, gazette notification, apart from ATI, is that teaching is full-time employment, and total 40 hours of engagement must be there. At least 5 hours daily, a person should be available within the college or the university. At least 2 hours of mentoring of the students, community development, extracurricular activities, library, or some cases, these should be devoted. 2 hours for research in PG courses or PhD should be there. Of course, everybody knows that the teaching load that is there is of 16 hours per week for assistant professor, and for the associate professor it is 14 hours, and professor it is also 14 hours. There may be 2 hours of relaxation given to person who are involved in certain administrative activity, that too at associate and professor level.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, the first point is the minimum are
Yes.
40 hours. But in the second point, it is written that minimum at least 5 hours should be there per day.
Yes.
So if I multiply this by 6, then only 30 hours I am getting.
Yes, but minimum 5 hours, you have got teaching load also. This is that you must be available, because it is, you must be available in your office, because a student can come and ask some question. A PG student may come for some research discussion, or your PhD student may come for some discussion. So those this is not 5 hours
Sir, actually it talks about
including
max
teaching.
and minimum.
You have got teaching separately.
Okay, sir.
So coming to this, when we are applying for the or filling up the form for CAS, there are certain things that we should be aware of before we are applying. That is the date of eligibility for promotion and the assessment period. So whenever you are planning to apply for the promotion to the next stage, you should be clear about the date of your eligibility and what is the assessment period, whether it is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the period. So that period you should be aware, and date by which you will be eligible for promotion. You should be having details about the course that you have taught during the assessment period. You should have the details about the administrative responsibility that you had during the assessment period, and there should be proof also. That means if you were examination in charge, then there will be an office order that will be issued and saying that you were appointed as an examination in charge in that specific session which falls within that assessment period. So documentary proof is required for all these sort of responsibilities. Then if you are going from one level to another level, what is the minimum score required to be promoted to that specific stage? You should be aware about that. We'll talk about all these things. Then about publications that you had, paper, book chapter, the journal papers that you have published, what was the date of publication? Whether the date of publication was during this assessment period or not. You have to take into consideration papers or books that was published during this assessment period. Also, when you have published a book or a journal, then whether it was published in a refereed journal, whether it was having some ISBN or ISSN number, whether the journal was having an impact factor, what was the impact factor? Of course, the impact factor should be from reliable source, that is the Thomson and Reuters impact factor, not various other bodies which are talking about those fake impact factor.
Sir, I want question.
Yes, please.
Sir, refereed journal, peer view, the meaning. So what difference in between?
There is very minor difference. Peer reviewed means the paper that you will submit to the publisher will be actually sent to some reviewers who are also doing research in the same area, your peers. So if you are doing some work in medieval history and you have submitted a paper, then the journal will be having information about various other people who are working in medieval history, and those experts, they will go through the paper and give their comments, how to improve upon that, and whether this paper quality or the manuscript that you have submitted is up to the mark to be published or not, whether it is factually correct, whether there are certain anomalies, all those comments will be there. So that is the peer reviewed. And
सर एक्सक्यूज मी, ये चीज तो सर प्रोसीडिंग्स में भी होती है और एनी जर्नल जिसमें छपाते सब में होती है।
everywhere it is
उनको जो प्रॉब्लम होता है वो हमें वापस करते हैं, बताते हैं इस पॉइंट पर आप रिव्यू करो, फिर वापस सबमिट करो, फिर वो पब्लिश होता है।
See, that's what I was going to say, that everywhere, every journal or every conference says that it is peer reviewed journal. All of them will be saying that maybe sometimes they may give you feedback without any comment and saying that okay, your paper was perfect, and the others.
एक और प्रॉब्लम है सर, साइंस का मैक्सिमम जर्नल कोई इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर कुछ होता नहीं है। ये तो हम लोग जो पबमेड में डालते हैं, जो साइंस ये मेडिकल जर्नल है, इंजीनियरिंग जर्नल, वो सबको पेयर ये होता है इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर। लेकिन साइंस जर्नल जैसे उसका भी है, टेलर फ्रांसिस को, उसका भी इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर नहीं होता है।
नहीं होता है, बिल्कुल होता है टेलर फ्रांसिस का।
क्यों नहीं होता? होता है इसका,
मैक्सिमम का सर नहीं होता है।
होता है टेलर फ्रांसिस का सबका होता है।
अब जैसे एग्रीकल्चर जर्नल है, वो सबका नहीं होता है, एग्रीकल्चर जर्नल का नहीं होता, वो सबका अपना एक अलग इंडिकेटर है।
हेलो मिस्टर, आई एम फ्रॉम सर सॉरी सर, आई एम फ्रॉम एग्रीकल्चर सेक्शन ओनली एंड देयर इज आल्सो इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर।
So
there is no criteria for limiting.
It is possible there may be few journals in that particular area, and they may not have a very high impact factor. Find that the usual will list of maybe so
already new gender, they did not give impact factor for one.
Yes, if there's a user that report and all those sites you can apply for things, and then registration factor will get some impact. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
I want to that we need to fill. This is the first table which is allocated to activity 1. We will have another activity. This is related to teaching and just talking about the number of classes that a person has. This is just a number by total assigned. So if a person, please mute yourself.
आपका ये है, कोई दिखाएगा? इसमें से आप देख लीजिए, थॉट है,
सर प्लीज म्यूट सर।
क्लाइमेटोलॉजी है,
Please,
जियोग्राफी, रिसोर्स है,
Renji,
कोई
Renji
टॉपिक
one
आपको अच्छा
KG,
लगता है?
KG, please.
प्रेम नारायण जी
हाँ, वो
प्लीज
मतलब
अपने आप को म्यूट कर लीजिए।
teaching, we talking about if
हाँ
a person
तो क्लाइमेटोलॉजी में आप
has
समझा
taken
दीजिए
80% or
जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी, जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी।
we may have having a morphology class somewhere over here.
चलिए आपको पहले इंट्रोडक्शन करा देंगे क्लास।
Please mute
बता
yourself.
दीजिएगा क्लाइमेटोलॉजी में जो भी आपको पता है।
Supreme.
बुक आप ले लीजिए, जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी की
प्रेम नारायण जी प्लीज म्यूट कर लीजिए अपने आप को।
जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी हमने बना दिया है आपका, जैसे आप यहाँ बता के आए
उनको रिमूव कर दीजिए।
म्यूट कर दीजिए।
तो अब आप देख लीजिएगा जो भी आपको
Cannot remove. Actually, I am not administrator. I am over here. I cannot remove. Yeah, hang on. Okay, coming back to our discussion now. Teaching in this case, we are having grades only assigned as good, satisfactory, and not satisfactory. If a teacher has engaged 80% of the assigned classes, then the grade will be good. The teacher has engaged 70 to 80% of the class that was assigned, then it is satisfactory. But if it is less than 70%, this is not satisfactory, this is red. So this is not desirable. Here usually what is done is the declaration is by the teacher itself stating that how many classes he or she has engaged. Sometimes it's possible that if you are having an attendance register, you can always take a photocopy of that, and or sometimes the attendance is actually displayed at the end of the session, so you can use that record as a proof that how many classes you have engaged. It is always better that you supply your document or the API form with proof, substantiate all those claims that you are making with proof. That will be better. Then in this table itself is the second first activity. I do think that everybody will get good or satisfactory grade. A list in the second activity you have.
Sir?
Yes. Here. Yes, please.
The question, sir, may I ask?
Yes, please, please.
Sir, is this attendance register or timetable will be proof of our classes?
Is the
Timetable.
proof that time was actually assigned to you. See, timetable only gives the information that you were assigned a specific course and you were supposed to teach. But how many classes you have engaged, it doesn't say that. Usually in universities, you in some places 75% attendance requirement, and that attendance has paid before the start of the examination. So if you have got that policy, that display will actually say that how many classes were engaged and individual students how many classes they have actually attended. So based upon that record, you can always say that this was the percentage of class that I am actually engaged. Because sometimes this person is not traveling, going outside, sometimes on official duty as well. That's not timetable.
Okay, official duty will also be considered as classes or not?
We can be exempted that during this we are not scheduled, so as classes we move from the denominator as well.
सर मेरे यहाँ हर दिन एग्जाम ही होता रहता है और एग्जाम छुट्टी भी आती है तो 10 से या 2 से 5। तो उससे क्या वो काउंट होगा क्लास में एग्जाम की इन्विजिलेशन?
I to that point. Activity just will come to that point. In activity to first of all, the involvement second in university or research activity and so
सर ये मारो जी क्लास करवा दिया कोई बात नहीं। प्रेम नारायण जी अपना ऑडियो ऑप्शन है।
if for example you are having some administrative responsibilities such as you are head of the department or director or coordinator or warden, examination in charge, some in charge of the lab, maybe in charge of NSS, something like that. So there is an administrative responsibility that you are having. Then again, I would say that you should have a office order copy of that and check that whether it is in the assessment period or not. You were asking about examination. If you are involved in examination, evaluation, duty, or doing some examination paper evaluation, all this, then again you should have a record of the duties that you have performed. Sometimes in some screening committee, people have actually rejected the assignment of invigilation duties because they said that once the duty is assigned, this does not guarantee that you have performed the duty. So you can have a letter from the examination is over, get a letter from the examination superintendent that you have performed duties on these dates, and that certificate will be good enough as a proof that you have performed these duties. Just the duties were assigned to you doesn't mean that you have actually performed. So be careful about this. This has happened in past at some places. Then again, students related activity, if you are involved in certain field work, extension work, you have taken a student's trip, or you are looking after some students club, maybe you are in charge of a drama club or painting club or a hobbies workshop, or you are doing career counseling, NSS or NCC, or you are organizing some community service program along with the students. Please have all those official records. So those records must be present. There should be some office order for all those things, mentioning the dates, important point, mentioning the date and the teacher's name who are involved in that. So this was the third activity. Fourth activity is organizing seminar. Of course, this is not very frequent and this is not usually done in the case of colleges. So this may be once in a year in a department, in a university, or maybe 2 years, and all the teachers will not be involved in that. So if you are in organizing, then again official record is required. Evidence of actively involved in guiding PhD students. So when a student is admitted to PhD, officially a supervisor, a co-supervisor is allocated. That office order should be there, and you should have that within that assessment period. If you are having any major project or minor project during that period from a national or an international agency, this is also required with all those documentary evidence. It will be better if you have got utilization certificate or utilization report, annual report. So if the utilization report is there, it will be good enough, because sometimes it happens that the project has been sanctioned and the project was not executed. So if you have sent a utilization report or you have received some money and consumed some money, that is the evidence that the project is ongoing. At least one single or joint publication in a peer-reviewed or UGC listed journal. So any journal sort of thing. So these are the 7 activities that have been mentioned under this activity 2. And if a teacher is involved in at least 3 activities, any of these 3 activities, then he will be getting a good grade. If a teacher is involved in 1 or 2 activity, then satisfactory. And if he is not involved in any of these activities, then of course it is unsatisfactory. You know that by default, all the teachers will be involved in this B activity, examination, evaluation duties, and all those sort of things. So at least a person will be getting satisfactory grade if he is not involved in any other sort of activity. So this becomes much more easier, but
Sir, I have a question.
Mind it. Yes, please.
Sir, actually, I am pursuing my PhD, so my PhD paper will be considered for the API or not?
PhD paper,
Yes,
the publication that you are having.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. After joining as an assistant professor.
Yes, it should be considered, because if they are considering the period of this leave, then it is question. Is it a paid leave or without?
Actually, sir, first I was doing a full-time PhD, but when I joined as assistant professor, so I have converted my PhD into part-time.
The same university, isn't it?
Sir, one my question.
No, sir,
in a journal, is it
from
possible to?
And now I am in Sridhar Suman University, Garhwal University. Sridhar Suman.
सर क्या फर्स्ट ऑथर होना जरूरी है कि को ऑथर भी चलेगा काम?
It is possible that may consider that the university don't have any guideline for.
सर पॉइंट तो बढ़ जाएंगे ना को ऑथर रहने से. फर्स्ट ऑथर पॉइंट 100
not talked about points. Point के बारे में बात ये आगे करें ना.
Okay.
So we are not talking about points. This is grading criteria. See, they graded over grading criteria. This is table that we are talking about. Table 1. The point calculation will be in the other table 2. This is table 1, which is based upon grading criteria. See, overall grading in this category, the activities, 2 activities that we have talked about, there will be an overall, this was the teaching activity 1 and other activities, 7 activities. So 2 activities we had, and from based upon those 2 grading, overall grade will be decided. So if a person got a good grade in teaching and good grade in the 7 activities. 7 activity means that a person was actually involved in at least 3 of these activities. Then he will get good. So if he gets good in both the cases, overall is good. If a teaching is good, that means he takes more than 80% of the scheduled classes, but he is other activity. That means he is just involved in 1 activity out of 7, 1 or 2, then he gets satisfactory. But still the overall grading is good because he was good in teaching. So you have got weightage, more weightage to teaching. If he was satisfactory in teaching, that means he took 70 to 80% of the classes. But he was very much involved in administration and a lot of administrative activities, more than 3 or more than 3, then overall still it will be satisfactory because the teaching was satisfactory. If both of them are satisfactory, over all is satisfactory. And if I get anywhere unsatisfactory, then this becomes satisfactory. So for an annual appraisal, a person will get one of the grades in this category: good, satisfactory, or unsatisfactory. Desirable. These two are good. Unsatisfactory is not desirable. Satisfactory.
So I have a question.
Just noted, all parameters are to be exempted from assessment. So this is important. Yes, please. Question.
Yes, sir. My question is, you are talking about the innovative techniques in teaching that create a good impression or may create a good marks. Then, how can I show that I am using that innovative techniques to the external examiners?
Okay, we will be coming to those points where we will be scoring that. But you can always, for example, if you have prepared a slide, very interactive, very good slide, or you have prepared a video lecture, then you can always give a link of that. And if you want, you can attach some screenshot of that, or you have prepared some teaching material, e-resource, you can have those resources, some of those things, not the entire thing, attached as a sample, give the address,
okay.
Those things can be done. Now,
okay,
coming to the table 2 that we were talking about, and people were talking about how the points will be divided. So now we are coming to the points. Calculation earlier was the grade. Here we will be calculating how much a teacher will be getting for the research that he is carrying out, which is related to research and publication things. So first item over here is the research paper published in peer-reviewed UGC listed journal. Now, two categories, if you find over here, you can see two categories have been given by the UGC. Agriculture, veterinary sciences, medical, and the other is the arts, social sciences, humanities, libraries, sciences, commerce, management. So all these in another category. For this first research publication, if a paper is published, the basic marks in the science field is 8, but in the arts, social science, humanities, it is 10 per publication, per paper. But this is not the case here. We won't be stopping. But if it is a refereed journal, which all the journals claim, and it is not having an impact factor, then I need to add 5 points additional. That means if somebody is from the education and he has published a paper, then 10 points for that paper, plus if it is published in a refereed journal without impact factor, it becomes 15, 10 plus 5. If the paper has got an impact factor which is less than 1, but it is having an authentic impact factor, then you add 10 points additional. That means it will be 10 plus 5 for the refereed plus 10 for the impact factor which is less than 1. It becomes 25. If the impact factor is between 1 and 2, then instead of adding 10 points, you will be adding 15 points. Or 2 and 5, it is 20 points. And 5 and 10, it is 25 points. If it is more than 10, then it is 30 points that will be added. So it becomes by default, usually it will be 10 plus 5 plus there is an impact factor. For the case of science, engineering, agriculture, and medical veterinary science, it will be 8 plus 5 plus the impact factor points. So you can see that here the impact factor, as I told you, that in arts, humanities, you don't have a lot of high impact factor. So the paper per paper point, basic point have been slightly higher 10 as compared to 8 over here. Now, there are issues that you don't publish a paper as a single author. There may be multiple authors. So what do we do? How do we divide that point? So, for example, if there are 2 authors for a paper, so 70% of the total value of publication for each, total value of publication. Now, it is important that you are calculating 70% after you add 5 point over here, 10 plus 5, plus you can add more points over here. Maybe if it is having an impact factor between 1 and 2, 15. So this becomes total 30 points. So total 30 points that you will get. Out of those 30 points, if there are 2 authors, each will get 21. That is 70%. So 21 points will be given to each of the authors. Is it clear?
Yes,
नहीं
sir.
सर नहीं समझ आया आपको author वाला नहीं समझ आया सर
No, sir. No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'll repeat again. I'll repeat again one more time. See, if a person is from social sciences and his research scholar publishes a paper. He is the supervisor and his research scholar is publishing a paper in a journal which is having an impact factor of 1.3.
Yeah.
So he will have 10 points for the paper, 5 points for the refereed journal, and 15 points for impact factor 1.3. So it becomes 10 plus 5 plus 15 equal to 30 points. But this 30 point you cannot claim as a supervisor. You will claim 70% of the total value of the publication. That is 21 points. So 21 point can be claimed if both the authors are from the teaching backgrounds, and both will get 21 points. Okay. Now, if there are more than 2 authors, then 70% of the total value of publication for the first author, principal author, or corresponding author, and 30% of the publication for each of the joint authors. There is some sort of disturbance going on.
Durgesh ji, please mute yourself. Durgesh.
लेकिन सर फॉर असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर वन पेपर इक्वल्स ओनली 2 points.
Please, Mr. Durgesh Singh Yadav, please mute yourself.
हमें आप ये मतलब है कि कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा करना मतलब उसको उस तरह का
I don't know. I cannot actually explain things over here in this market. So you should understand that there is a protocol when you are attending certain.
Durgesh Singh Yadav,
mute yourself.
please mute yourself.
Durgesh ji, please mute yourself.
Durgesh ji, please mute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please. Coming to this last point, B point over here, because these things are important, and this is where usually mistake and problems or confusion occurs. When there are more than 2 authors, 70% of the total publication value that you will be having will be given to the first author, principal author, or corresponding author. And 30% of the total value of the publication will be for the joint author. So this is how it will be shared. If there are 4 or 5 authors and simply as a head of the department, the name was given and he has not contributed, he is not the first principal or corresponding author, then out of this 30 marks, he will be getting 9 points, 30% of that. A person who is actually the principal or the corresponding author or the first author, he will get 21 points. So this is how the sharing will be done in the case of research publication in the journal.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था पीछे वाली स्लाइड पे
जी
सर, यहाँ पे जो रेफरीड जर्नल की बात है कि उसमें 5 पॉइंट इसके ऐड कर देंगे और इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर वाले में भी हम ऐड कर रहे हैं, तो ये 5 पॉइंट मुझे लगता है कि ऐड करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे, इसमें मेरा डाउट है थोड़ा सा।
इसमें यहाँ पे हम तो यूजुअली इन आवर यूनिवर्सिटी वी डू से दैट बिकॉज दे आर रेफरीड, so 5 point is added, and because it is having impact factor, this is what they say, that the research score of the paper will be augmented. So when this is happening, by default all these will have that will fall in the category of the impact refereed journal.
Okay sir.
So
Sir,
5
only
point
one
by default
category
we will be
counted.
adding.
Sir, I also have a question, please.
Yes please.
सर यूजीसी केयर लिस्टेड जो जर्नल्स हैं जो स्कोपस इंडेक्स्ड हैं या वेब ऑफ साइंस इंडेक्स्ड हैं, उनका क्या क्राइटेरिया रहेगा?
All of them are refereed, and if it is Scopus or Web of Science, they will be having some impact factor also. So you have to look at the journal website. There they mention usually what is the impact factor. Use that impact factor, and that will be good enough. It will be better that a person, if you are putting up your paper also, because when you are claiming these points, you submit the paper also, at least the first or the front page. So try to get a screenshot of the impact factor also, so that the screening committee sitting over there, they may not be having access to the net over there, and they can verify the claim that what is the impact factor. So it will be better that if you provide those proof along with your paper itself, that will be helpful.
Sir, is there any extra weightage for such kind of good databases and UGC care journals?
Extra weightage is coming because of these points. There is nothing like extra over here, because if some of those UGC listed journals may not be having the impact factor also. So if it is
actually there are some journals which are not indexed in Scopus or such kind of good databases, but they are approved by the UGC and they are the national journals. So if they have the impact factors like this criteria, which are showing on the PPT, are they as the same like the same impact factor of Scopus indexed or Web of Science index?
No. Yes, you have to go to the Thomson Reuters site where the impact factor of all the journals are given, if at all they are having an authentic impact factor. Many of those Indian journals who are predatory journals, they do write that this is the scientific impact factor, this is the world impact factor, this is different names they do give, and they are not authentic impact factor. So try to get the authentic, your library will give you that information, that how to get that latest list of the web from Web of Science, which gives all those details of the journals with their impact factor, citation details and all those things.
Sir, my question is, for one research paper, total point is 8 plus 5, 15. 13,
Sir,
13.
it is requested to please complete the slide, sir. You will take questions in the end of the session.
Sir, I 1 minute, sir. I have
Sir,
opened
he is
the
having
2018
questions
regulation.
one after one and disturbing the
Research
class,
paper
sir.
in peer reviewed or UGC listed journal, it is 8 per paper. And after that, we are seeing if impact factor is less than 1, then it is 10 point. Without impact factor, 5 point.
Yes, so it will be 8 plus 5 without impact factor, 13. Okay, we move on now.
Okay.
So that if you see the previous case, we had two different lists of the faculties where engineering, sciences, medicine were separate and art, social sciences were separate. But now, although they're in the Gazette notification, you'll find that they are separate. Two columns are shown, but the points are same now. So if you have published a book and the publisher is an international publisher, then it will be 12 points. If it is a national publisher, for any faculty member from any department, 10 points. If the chapter edited book, then 5 per chapter you will be getting. If you are editor of book by international publisher, then it is 10 point. And for national, it is 8 point. It is also possible that sometimes translation work is also done in Indian and foreign languages. So if somebody has done those translation also, it may not be an original research paper, but that is a new translation, then that is 3 points for that. And for the book, it is 8. Now somebody asked about the material, teaching aid and all those things. We have come to that. Creation of ICT mediated teaching, learning, pedagogy and content development of new and innovative courses. So if somebody has developed some innovative methodology for teaching, which is to be demonstrated over there in terms of some proof, then that is 5 points. If you have designed a new curriculum for a course, then 2 points per course. Mind it that for all these course design, you should have authentic proof that it has been carried out by you during that assessment period. About MOOCs, which you have learned now, if somebody has developed a MOOCs in 4 quadrant with 4 credit, then that is 20 points. This is a huge point. 4 quadrant, it should be there. It is possible that sometimes entire course is divided into modules. So if you are having modules, then each module will be considered as 5 points. So if you have made one module in a course which is 4 quadrant, that means you have got the e-resource, you have got the video lectures, you have got the questions, and you have got the discussion forum. All these 4 quadrants are there. Then you will be getting 5 points. If you have written some content, that means only one quadrant you are addressing. Because you are expert in a specific area for a MOOCs course, you have written some e-content, then that is 2 points. If you are course coordinator for a MOOCs course, 4 credit, and it is no less than 2 credits, 2 marks per credit. So you will be getting 8 points for that. If it is less than that, so correspondingly you can actually calculate based upon the credit. Now, the previous one, A, B, C was different, and this is D, E-content development. Again, it is same thing, but now it is again 4 quadrant. The difference between this one and the previous MOOCs one was MOOCs is open online course. That means it is available or visible to anybody and everybody in the entire world. But it is possible that sometimes you may have your own departmental or university server where you have hosted a content, 4 quadrant, which is accessible to the students of your own university only within the college itself or within the hostel, but it is not open to everybody. It has got restricted access based upon certain credentials. then that comes under this D category. That is not under MOOCs. It is exactly the same, but it is not open now. And slightly different points over here because of that particular reason. And the other contributions as such you can see. About the research, if you are guiding PhD or supervising MPhil, then 10 points for the awarded PhD degree during the assessment period, and 5 points if the thesis have been submitted. If MPhil was there, then you will get 2 points per degree award. Now, research project, if you have got research project worth 10 lakh during the assessment period, then this is 10 point. If it is less than 10 lakh, then it is 5 point. Now, this is a research project that you have completed during the assessment year. It is also possible that there may be a ongoing research project during that assessment period. So ongoing means that it will continue for 1 year or 2 years. So each year you will be getting points for that. And therefore, this is 5 in each year that you are getting. If you are having consultancy, then it is 3 points. Another important point that is to be noted is that has been clarified in this 2018 Gazette notification by UGC is that joint supervision of the research, co-supervisor and supervisor. If there are 2 people who are supervising a student, 70% of the total score for supervisor and co-supervisor. That means both will get 7 marks, not complete 10 marks. And if you have got a project which is having a co-investigator along with you as a principal investigator, then the point will be shared 50%. Or if you are a co-investigator, then also you'll get 50% point. So this is the new thing that has been added. It was not earlier there. Patents, international patent, if you have got, then it is 10 points. And if it is a national patent, then it is 7 points. It is important to note that this is patents that have been awarded, not the patent that has been published. So once it has been awarded, that means you have got a patent certificate from Indian Patent Office, then it will be 7, or international it is 10. Now, it may not be the case for maybe other arts and social sciences. There people may write some policy documents, some documents which may be used at the international level or national level or state level, certain policy, certain work which have been adopted by it or the national level, then the person can claim those points over here. And of course, those documents will be the proof that the person has actually produced that work and that has been adopted by the government. Fellowship, if it is national fellowship, 5 points, and international 7 points. Documentation required, and it should be within the assessment period.
Sir, may I ask a question? Hello.
Let me finish those things and then we can have the question, because
Okay.
we are ending. Then we may have questions. And now 6th point, which is again important: invited lecture as a resource person, or you have presented a paper in a conference, seminar, all those things. If it is abroad, then 7 points. If it is an international one within the country, then this is 5 points, and national level is 3 points, and state or within the university is 2 points. Now, it is important that for the purpose of calculating the research score, this table 2 that we are talking about, the combined research score from 5B policy documents and 6 invited lectures, papers, shall have an upper capping of 30%. So you cannot have more than 30% of the total research score from these two only. For example, somebody says that, okay, I will be just delivering invited lectures only, and I will make up those points. No, it cannot be done. There is an upper ceiling over there. The research score that you should have should come from a minimum of 3 categories out of these 6 categories that we have talked about. So even if your assessment period is yet to come, but you should try to fill up these details and see that whether you are coming near to that desired points or not. Now we are talking about those points. Assistant professor level, eligibility, assistant professor completed 4 years, now which is at 10 level, now going to senior scale level, that is 11. That is the first promotion. So 4 years of service with PhD, 5 years with MPhil or PG degree courses, or 6 years of service for those without MPhil, PhD, PG degree in professional courses. So this is the requirement, and the minimum score is 40 from the research score, that 6 categories that we have just talked about for the university teachers and 20 for the college teachers. So this is the minimum requirement, and from the first table that we have talked about, the teacher must get satisfactory or good grade in the annual performance assessment report. So if the eligibility period or the assessment period was 4 years, then he should have at least 3 good or satisfactory. If the eligibility period was 5 years, then he should have good or satisfactory for 4 years. That means there is a 1 year concession given during which a person can have unsatisfactory report. Otherwise, for all the rest of the years, he should have good or satisfactory report as per the table 1. And for the promotion, of course, there is a screening committee or the evaluation, which is looks into the documents, and the promotion is done. You don't require interview for that. But additional requirements are there. 1 orientation course for 21 days duration on teaching methodology. Then that is must. Then any one of the following, that is the completed the refresher course on research methodology or 2-week workshop on syllabus upgradation, training, teaching, learning, evaluation, technology program, faculty development program.
सर रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी रिफ्रेशर कोर्स के बराबर होता है सर?
Refresher course should be 1. This is the 1 that you must be having, and 2 of these, not single one. For example, if you are doing a research methodology, same. If you are having faculty development program, it should be minimum of 5 days duration.
Okay.
2 of these is required. Or you have taken a MOOCs course where you have received the e-certificate for the development of content of 4-quadrant MOOC course for that particular period. So this is for the college teachers. For the university teachers, there is, along with this, there is an additional requirement that he must have published 1 research publication in a peer-reviewed UGC listed journal during this assessment period. A university teacher, which is additional as compared to the college teachers.
सर डेजर्टेशन का भी कोई नंबर है सर?
सर मेरा एक डाउट है,
डेजर्टेशन का सर?
डेजर्टेशन, एमटेक डेजर्टेशन, एमफिल?
एमफिल नहीं सर, जैसे कि पीजी में एक पेपर डेजर्टेशन के रूप में भी बच्चे लेते हैं, उसके लिए।
Some places, for example, in professional courses, master's, MTech dissertation, or MD program, these things, their thesis is considered equivalent to MPhil in some universities. So correspondingly, marks have been allocated to them. For the case of promotion from senior
सर
scale, that is
आपको
level
नई शिक्षा
11.
नीति के तहत पॉलिटिकल साइंस
Okay. From grade level 11 to level 12, that is going to the selection grade, you require actually to be in 5 years of service at level 11. 100 points you must have received if you are in university, 50 if you are in the college. And out of these 5 years in service, 4 years you should have satisfactory or this grade should be satisfactory or good. For 4 years, 1 year concession is given. Again, the promotion is through the screening or the evaluation committee.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Sir, I have a question.
सर मैं अगर
थैंक यू सर
असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर हूँ, मेरी पीएचडी कंप्लीशन अभी नहीं हुआ है,
थैंक यू सर थैंक
मैं
यू
अगर कुछ करती हूँ, उसका स्कोर काउंट होगा?
Thank you,
अरे
sir.
सब
Thank you,
पीडीएफ
sir.
पीडीएफ डाल दीजिए प्लीज।
क्वेश्चन था सर
Thank you.